This is what the Indianapolis Colts need to do in the 2023 NFL Draft. Ryan Wilson and Rick Spielman from With the First Pick podcast here to provide an ultimate mock draft for the team with the number 4 pick. Let's jump into the NFL mock draft database simulator. Pretty good, right, Rick?
No, that was horrible.
All right.
If you want to keep doing that, you can do the show by yourself. I am not going to be associated with something like that.
I won't even mention the things that you do with your English accent. Here we go. At the top, Carolina Panthers. They take Anthony Richardson. What? Houston take Bryce Young. That's a layup. The Cardinals take Jalen Carter and surprise pick there. So we're on the clock at 4. CJ Stroud. That's a layup, right, Rick?
No, yeah. I mean, this one, you probably have his name written on a card 10 seconds after you see that. And you're just going.
Yeah, I mean, they need a quarterback in the worst way. They've struggled with it, and I think this solves a lot of problems for that organization, starting with the general managers who's had to quote unquote deal with some things. So we're at pick 35 now. We're next up, and we have needs at offensive line, at cornerback, at defensive line, at wide receiver. We don't necessarily have needs in the secondary, huge needs, I don't think, but our guy. Brian Branch.
Didn't they trade away Gilmore?
They did, but Brian Branch isn't filling that need, right? Do you want to see who the cornerbacks are?
I would definitely like to see if there's any corners left.
Keely Ringo, Juju Brents, come on. He's there.
Let's go with your guy. I'm going to give you, Ryan, this is your pick for the Indianapolis Colts. Do you want to take your guy?
All right, let's see. At cornerback, they currently have Dallas Flowers, and Kenny Moore is the Nick, and then they have Isaiah Rodgers. This is a layup. Juju Brents. I mean, if you watch on the podcast on Monday, Rick pointed out cornerbacks with 78-plus inch arm wingspans.
Yep.
They've led the league 9 out of 10. And tell me the stat, because I'll get it wrong.
When you have a wingspan of plus 78 inches, with Juju was what, 83, 80, I mean, offensive lineman.
Yep.
9 out of the 10 corners, last 10 corners that have done that have led the league in PBUs.
There we go. Thank you. So Juju Brents is that guy. Next up at 79. So we have a cornerback. We have a quarterback. We have needs along the offensive line. We have needs at wide receiver, edge rusher, interior offensive line, safety, linebacker. So we can go just about any direction there. Sika's sitting there. Does Sika fit what we want to do in Indianapolis, or is he two-down player, not quite yet?
I went back and watched some tape on him, and he grew on me a little bit. He moves better than I thought he did. Was able to work some edges and did get some, although he's going to hit how he's going to get pressure on a quarterback is going to use his power and collapse the pocket. But he probably is underrated a little bit as an athlete for his size. So he grew on. He's not going to be a nickel pass rusher, but first and second down, he may be able to generate some pressure on the quarterback. Not as tall, but as I was sitting here watching it over the weekend, the one thing that kind of I remembered a little bit when we had Linville Joseph.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a great inline pass rusher, but he was able to collapse the pocket. And when you can get a big body like that can collapse the pocket from inside, it puts a lot of stress on that quarterback, especially if he has to step up. There's nowhere for him to step up, and it makes him sit in the pocket even deeper. And so I'd like the Baylor. I'd like the Baylor pick there, although you can argue that they do need an edge rusher in Derek Hall, who I think is a little stiff in his lower, but he pins his ears back and comes.
What about Deion Henley? You need some help in linebacker next to Shaquille Leonard.
I know. I'm going to go with the probably. I'm going to lean towards Hall on this one because they, although I do like the defensive tackle
from Baylor, Siaki Ika. All right, Derek Hall, edge rusher, Auburn, Debo. He's our guy. So we have edge rusher taken care of here. And then our next pick is 106 in round 4. And so we got a quarterback. We got Juju Brents, the cornerback. Got Derek Hall, the edge rusher. That's a pretty good haul so far. So we're up. So we still have needs at linebacker. We can go offensive line here, go wide receiver, go safety, go interior defensive line. Tyler Scott sitting there at 78.
Very interesting.
Very interesting, as Rick likes to say. Let's see who our wide receivers are. Let me just double check here. So we have Alec Pierce, last year, the second round pick out of Cincy. Michael Pittman Jr. still there. Isaiah McKenzie's in the slot. And then that's about it. There's not much depth behind it. It's either young guys or guys who haven't played much at all. Tyler Scott plays outside.
Who?
Tyler Scott plays primarily outside. He can come inside if you want.
Yeah, I think he gives them an explosive speed element for CJ. So I could see going at this part in the draft, going with a guy, and he also probably has some potential return ability as well.
Yep.
So, but he's an explosive playmaker that can really stretch the field. So I would agree with you on Tyler Scott if you're okay with that.
I love it.
So
this feels like an A+ draft here.
Let's put Scott in.
Tyler Scott it is. Next up, we're going to the 5th round. We have 3 picks in the 5th round.
Oh my
God. We're on the backboard.
we're getting a little deep.
All right. So running back isn't a huge need. Kaiu Blue Kelly still there. Yaya Diaby still there. Kaiu Blue Kelly, the cornerback out of Stanford. Yaya Diaby, the sort of where do you have a position for him? Edge rusher? Is he going to reduce inside out of Louisville? There's a guy named DeMarvion Overshown, linebacker. We don't have a linebacker yet.
Yeah, I like him.
All right.
Safety, they got moved up to linebacker. He made a huge jump from 2021 to 22 from an instinctual standpoint. Still needs to learn how to take on with his hands, but I think this kid's continuing to ascend through this pre-draft process. He's ascending as a linebacker as he gets more comfortable. So I'm going to go with Overshown.
Love it. All right. That's the first 5th rounder. Then we got another one coming up here. Pick 162. Let's see what we got here. Quarterback. We got cornerback. We got edge rusher. We got our wide receiver, and we got our linebacker. So Xavier Hutchinson's there. That was your guy for a while. Here's a guy that people are in the league are talking about, a kid that's going to get drafted, a kid that didn't go to the combine for some reason. Chandler Zavala, interior offensive lineman out of NC State, plays guard. I watched him last week, and he was fun. And I think he has a chance to be a guy who can come in as a backup early on and maybe start some games for him if you need him. And then maybe 2-3 years from now, you put him into the starting lineup and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, though I have to go back and watch tape on him because his name is rising late. Everybody says that I've heard this kid's an aggressive kid that tries to finish you off.
Yeah.
I don't know what his weaknesses are. I haven't seen him yet, but I just heard that he's a big physical body. I heard his pro day was really, did really well at his pro day. So I'm not going to argue with you. Help solidify in that interior line as well. I'll
give you some quick weaknesses, Rick. Rick, 6-year senior, so he's a little bit older. Only 5 career starts prior to 2022. Suffered a back injury, missed the last 7 games of the 2021 season, so some medicals there early on. And occasionally he can get over his toes, susceptible to push-pull. So things we typically talk about when we talk about weaknesses. But yeah,
play hard.
Plays extremely hard.
All right, if a guy is passionate for the game, I'm all in.
All right. Got our offensive line, interior offensive line to protect CJ Stroud going. We have another pick at 176. And we're on the old backboard here, Rick, so we can go with guys that we like. We still have needs. We've got the corner.
Bennett's still there?
Oh, my gosh. Why is Jacorian Bennett still on the board? The cornerback that's an easy pick, right? The cornerback out of Maryland.
Yeah, no question. Take him.
All right, cornerback. We had another cornerback. So how excited would you be if you're Chris Ballard and you get Jacorian Bennett and Juju Brents in this draft?
Well, I'd be pretty excited coming out of that draft with 2 young corners that I think are going to help immediately.
All right, no 6th-round picks, but we have 2 7th-rounders, starting with 221. Boy, I just saw Evan Hull's name. If he's still there, I might be interested in that.
Guys, we're getting a little, we're digging.
So Jonathan Taylor, of course, our running back.
You know what we're going to do?
What?
We are going to go. What do you think about Jay Ward, who was a nickel that could also play free safety?
Love him.
Going to give you depth on the back end, and it's athletic.
We need to help at safety as well. He's a little light. I think he's 186, but he plays much bigger than that.
And he has multiple position flexibility.
Yep, Kenny Moore's the Nick. Rodney Thomas is the deep free safety currently on the roster, so we can use some depth behind both those guys. Sign me up. All right, one more pick, I believe. Debo at 236. All right. Will Mallory still there? If you want to get actually, you know what? We're okay at tight end. Mo Alley Cox, Kylan Granson, and then Jelani Woods, who they liked a lot last year. So I'm okay at tight end unless you feel otherwise.
No.
Evan Hull, who's a solid running back that can help you. O'Shawn Mathis, I like the edge rusher out of Nebraska. Alex Forsythe's a solid interior offensive lineman, but we already got Zavala, so I don't know.
Yeah, but remember, and that is he the one that tore his ACL at the combine?
No, that was
the USC
kid, Voorhees. Yep, yeah, you got it. All right, keep scrolling, Debo. What's below Davis Allen, the tight end out of Clemson? There's another tight end. Miles Brooks is the cornerback out of Louisiana Tech that I've heard some buzz on that might get drafted a little higher than this. How many cornerbacks do you need? Carter Warren's another guy that the offensive tackle out of Pitt had injury issues before. Team's starting to like him.
That's boy, Debo, you're doing us you're doing us a disservice down here. You're a horrible developer of the draft board. This draft board you put together is bad.
Oh, there's our guy, Broderick Martin. Oh, Debo did us a favor.
Yeah,
scroll down.
There. Yeah.
Scroll back down, Debo. Right there's Broderick Martin. Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
We didn't take Siaki Ika, Rick, but we get Broderick Martin.
I would be very excited to get him this late in the draft.
Athletic defensive lineman out of Western Kentucky. Our draft is actually
he's a giant of a man and is more of a two-gapper, although he does play. I don't think he's a great pass rusher, but he can be solidify your run defense down the road as a developmental nose tackle.
All right, let's recap quickly. CJ Stroud was our quarterback. Then we got Juju Brents, the cornerback out of Kansas State. Derek Hall, edge rusher out of Auburn. Tyler Scott, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. DeMarvion Overshown, linebacker out of Texas. Rick loves him. Chandler Zavala, guard out of NC State. I love him. Jacorian Bennett, somehow still around, the cornerback out of Maryland. Jay Ward, the safety out of LSU, can play a little nick as well. And finally, wrapped it up with Broderick Martin, defensive tackle out of Western Kentucky. That is your ultimate draft for the Indianapolis Colts. Make sure to subscribe to the NFL on CBS on YouTube and download the With the First Pick podcast. Stay tuned for more Ultimate Mock Drafts.